All right, boys. Cash flow in a business. Running a business without a shitload of money, no investment, no seed money. How do you pull it off, right? Because my payroll it's typically $26,000 to $30,000 a week, depending on how much overtime we have. A lot of fucking money, boys. $30,000 a week is 1.5 million just in payroll. We're bringing in over 100K every week, and I mean, please, I know the surroundings. Like, if you don't know me, it's really easy to see who's this junky dude talking all this, but those are real numbers. And a lot of people have kind of been like, I know a lot of people want to get to these numbers, right? That like $5 million a year type company. And it seems like if you're struggling right now, if you're like a one-man truck and you're having a hard time getting there, it probably seems like there's so much stuff you have to know and do, and you're so far away from that. But it really, like, for me, it felt like a natural progression just to kind of go up. And I still only have $500 in credit, boys, which don't do that. That's fucking risky, right? Like, I'm lucky and I've built up a really good, the main thing for me is I keep, there's two things in your office you need to be concerned about. AP, accounts payable, and AR, accounts receivable. Accounts payable is all your shit going out to like your vendors and, like fuel cards, all the payments you make, that's the accounts payable department, right? And you need to make sure your AP is in line, but your AR is the big one, accounts receivable, right? If you do commercial work like me, everything's stretched out, right? Like, I just got to check this. I just opened a check in the mail today that was like $2,600 check, and I was like, what the fuck's this for? And it was like from an invoice in December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. So it's fucking April. That's fucking 5 months ago almost, And you're stretched out. So you really need to, if you want to get into this commercial world, which I recommend, guys, because like, fuck dealing with homeowners. Oh my God. Like, it's like home services. I always call those guys slimy. And honestly, they're slimy out of necessity. The shit is just, it costs more than homeowners want to pay. There's no way around it. Like, so at every job you go to, the people are thinking it's going to be half what you're going to say. And it's literally double what they're thinking. So fuck that, right? So if you can get into the commercial world, trust me, guys, it's worth it, because it's a win-win-win, right? Like, if it's a commercial building and their plumbing's fucked up, like, that building's useless, or at least that part of that building's, the plumbing has to work, right? And like, that building, they can't make money. It affects their business if you don't fix it. So you're saving them money. And you can actually get, like, my company, like, I create a return on investment for these companies. The more they use me, the more efficient I am, and the more money they save over time, and the more I can prevent things. And it's a win-win-win. But to get there, you're gonna need to get your money right. Okay. Now, I still only have $500 in credit limit. My wife needs to get on that and work on doing more. But it just takes that like month of saving up your money, right? So when I first started, literally, I'm going to go tell y'all the first week of this company. I had I always say I started with $7,000. I think I had like $5 or $6 grand in my personal account, like, to just make sure we could like pay rent and get some groceries and not just fall, like, give us some money. So I had like $5 grand in my personal account. But right away, the first call I took was a sewer blockage I ran for $300 on a Saturday night. And it was like, I was super excited, but I came home and I was like, God damn, it's going to take a whole bunch of these to do anything, And I kept kind of grinding residential service calls. I took like 2 or 3 small ones for like $350 to $400, like $250 to $400 range. And then I got like a lead from Yelp for a slab leak. And I show up, and it was, I sold a reroute for $4,400. And then they had like some issues with their gas, and I sold a gas job for like $3,000. So that first week, like, right then and there, I had that slab leak job, the gas job that was a little over. So that put me like $7,500. And I already had like probably close to $1,000 from those other service calls right there the first 3 days or something. And then I wound up getting a bunch of little service calls throughout. And I just like grinded on that service stuff and just piled up all my pennies, right? And got to where it's like there was $30K in the bank account. And that $30K is like, okay, I brought Jeremy on to help me kind of full time at that point. And I was getting him to drive his own personal vehicle, which I had a buddy that helped me. So that's a big thing. If you don't have any, like, a buddy, he wasn't a plumber, but he went to Lincoln Tech to learn how to be a mechanic, and he was real badass. So like, he was technically inclined, and he helped me a ton, and he's still with me today. He's, one of my top guys. but I had that money to kind of give me a little bit of buffer. And I never went and like, at the time, right, 30K in my account was like nuts to me. It was nuts to me. Like it was 30K. I don't owe anybody any money. Everything I have is paid for. Like, and I was like, people told me it's going to take 6 months for me to turn a profit. And it's like, I'm like, hey, this is like literally after a month, after paying all my bills, insurance, website, everything, there's 30K here. It's like, if I just walk away, like I've made 30K, right? Like so it felt like I could have spent money on shit. And at the time that seemed like, maybe to you watching 30K sounds like a lot of money. To me now, it's not even, it's barely a week's payroll, right? So it's nothing, but it seemed like so much. And I held on to it. My father-in-law became available, and some other guys I knew that they had a shitty job working for a shitty company doing construction work. And I was able to like get them to like moonlight for me on the weekends doing projects. And I fell into this restaurant work, like subbing out this other company way bigger than me, not anymore, but they were bigger than me at the time. And they had sold all these like fast food restaurants like McDonald's, Taco Casa. And I worked out a deal for, I think it was $1,600 a day, $1,800 a day, $1,800 a day for up to, it was for my father-in-law and 2 guys, right? And they were like, yep, we got tons of work for you. We got tons of work for you. And I was like, all right, cool. And so we did a great job. It was like, you know, me and Chad were kind of going over these jobs and making sure we're going to, you know, do them smooth. And we were getting those knocked out. And then meanwhile, me and Jeremy are running service calls like a son of a bitch. I'm fucking grinding service calls out, dude. I'm like dropping Jeremy off or meeting him places, and I'm going out and running 2-3 calls, coming back. You know, I didn't take a day off for like 6 months. It was just nonstop working. I was happy to be on the road at 9 o'clock at night. It felt like I was chasing my dreams, you know. But the money, like I never let the money really get under 30K at that point. And then I started bringing in from that sub stuff about $8,000 to $9,000 every single week. And the guys I'm paying for it were costing me about like $3,500 a week. And I didn't have to pay any material. And this is where people go fucking wrong, right? Is like now that seems like fucking peanuts to me. It's chump change money. But at the time it was like, I'm doubling my money. I'm out running service calls. And just with me doing service calls, I could probably make 150 to 200K a year just off me, just that alone. Probably make an extra 25K off shit Jeremy does, minimum, like net. And I'm thinking like this, and then I got this crew over here, I'm doubling my money. This is where most people just kind of say, like, this is where they go wrong, is they think, I've got it, you know? And I've heard so many companies that say, oh, you got to be careful. You know, I had a bunch, you know, like from failed companies. I've heard multiple tell me, well, I was real good for a while, and then the bottom falls out. And it's like, yeah, because like that sub work that I was set up doing at the time, it seemed like it was forever. It seemed like I've got it made. But now that I am where I am, that company ain't shit. And I'm glad I didn't just think like, oh, get comfortable. You're doubling your money. You're out making money doing service. This is it. This is what you wanted to do. You're doing it. I kept fucking pushing, and I kept money in the bank. I never made big expense. Look at the fucking property, boys. I am buying a new house. I have made enough money to buy a new house now. I'm not moving into the new house till like October. There's another property that has to get bought. It's a dream house. It's my dream house, boys. But, you know, I didn't put any of the money out. And so I never really let it get below 30 or 40. And then once I ran into Rob, who's my biggest customer now, and started doing work for him, I was doing that with Jeremy, and my other guys were doing the restaurant work. And Rob, it was contentious because he wasn't really a trusting guy. And he's, you know, it was, like I'm a confrontational. I ain't no pussy, right? You can't, like, I'm not fucking scared of you. I don't care who you are. And I'm not out to look for shit, but like, I'm not a pussy. So like, it's, you know, like if you're like a kind of alpha dude, you may butt heads with me because I'm not fucking backing down. And so we didn't really get along too well at first. And then once he found out that I wasn't full of shit, that like, hey, I do what I say. He's not just some asshole that's not going to put up with your shit. He's a guy that's actually going to do what he says he's going to do. And so like, once he kind of figured out that my attitude came from a place of, motherfucker, I'm going to deliver. Don't you act like I ain't going to deliver. It turned into a real big thing. And I was nervous about it. I didn't just go whole hog into that shit, right? I kept him at arm's reach because I was like, hey, we kind of started off contentious. Yes, he has all this work for me, but I thought in my head the same way. I didn't want to depend on this sub work for these restaurants because the bottom could fall out of that. I don't want to build up an infrastructure that depends on some other asshole. I kind of felt the same way about this guy. I'm like, man, if I start doing more work with him, and we don't get along, it could be bad. So I wanted to, you know, kind of diversify. And so I brought on Derek to help me with, Derek's my brother-in-law. Oh, at the time, he's my niece's father. And like my sister, I don't know. I think she's on dope or something. I ain't talked to her in years. And like, she really barely talks to her fucking daughter, for Christ's sake. But Derek takes care of his kids. He's a good guy. And I brought him on to help me out with Rob's work. Like, him and Jeremy kind of be a team. My other guys kind of doing the sub work with that. Me still doing service. And I really got to where it's like, okay, I can't really let the account get below like 40, 50 now. And I always kept it around 40, 50. And, you know, it seemed like every week I was getting like 8, 9 grand from the sub work. I was getting like 4 to 10 to 20 grand in service calls. It was depending. Sometimes I was just going nuts. There was weeks where I did like 40 by myself, you know. But and I just kept reinvesting, buying vans. Got Randall over to help because the Rob stuff started to take off, and it was like I felt comfortable to do bigger jobs with him. And then once I did one big job with him, there's a video I said I got my first 6-figure job, guys, and it went really fucking well. And it turns out like the water wasn't too deep for me. I can handle it. And I just kind of slowly expanded. And once I started doing that, like with him, I was like, you know what? I do need to go full in commercial, quit avoiding it. I've already got all these guys anyway. And so I started reaching out to all the commercial customers I kind of dealt with in the past. And everybody was like, fuck yeah, daddy, we are coming. And so like the commercial service, I kind of dropped residential. Commercial service started fucking jumping. But again, I was able to afford it because I had all this cash flow coming from like the construction work, right? And I'm pricing everything on like a 30% margin minimum, even on 6-figure jobs. So there's plenty of money in the company to do with. And like it got to where about the summer of 2024, it was time to get a shop, right? Like it was like we have so many guys, and like it's like I always have like 100,000 in the account, you know. It's like, okay, let's go ahead and get a shop. And it, you know, and then I brought Dustin on shortly after that to start really building up the service. And he came in November of 2024, so it's been about 7 months that he's been here now, and he's just dominating. And it, you know, it's just I never really let the money go below a certain number. You know what I mean? Like you got to treat like 80 like 0. And you know, it gets to where now service is bringing in 30K a week, construction is bringing in 100, you know, and it's like all this money's coming in. It's like there's a lot of money's gonna go out for material, a lot, and a lot of money for payroll. But it's just it's really no different than it was when I was a one-man show. It's just, you know, when I was a one-man show, it was like I needed to keep 7,000, 5 to 7,000 in the account. You know, once I had a few guys, I needed to keep at least 30 in the account. 30 had to be the 0. And it's the same thing now. You know, you got to keep a buffer, and it really isn't much different. It's just, you have to maintain the product. If the quality of the product drops, no one's going to keep calling, right? Like if you hire a guy and the customers he's dealing with aren't pleased with him, it's not going to work, right? So you have to have a good system and a good product. And that's something I kind of usually gloss over because I don't, you know, even in plumbing, I can't tell you how to really ensure that your product is good, you know, or like if you're like in HVAC or welding or landscape, whatever you're doing, I don't know how to tell you your product is good, but what I can tell you, value is it's what people are looking for. It's what they want, right? And if you can provide it to them for a price that they agree with in a timely manner, that's what real value is. It's not gimmicks and bullshit. It's like you have to understand their goals. And if you can understand their goals and be like on their team and accomplishing those goals, you're providing hard value to those people, and they're going to keep calling you, and you become the guy. And as long as you can kind of, you know, like my current guys, I really get into them that like these properties we work on this is for both construction and service. It's like these are, you know, because my construction work is remodel, so we're typically working in finished buildings, not always, but typically, you know. And I tell these guys, take care of these properties like more than your property. Like take care of it more, like with more vigor than you do your own property, your own home. Like care about, like if a customer says like, hey, like this happened last week, you know, like there's a water meter just running. We don't know where the water's going, but it's just running. Like I want all of us to feel a sense of panic. Like, oh fuck, this $1 billion property's got some massive fucking leak under the foundation that could cause major issues, and we need to give a fuck. Like we need feel like it's our house that's gonna have foundation issues. Like, and truly care. And that right there alone, as long as you're doing healthy margin pricing and working like that, that's a product that is so fucking viable, so scalable. You have to get that culture of we fucking really care. We really care. It matters to us because it matters to you. And Get your guys to buy into that. And my guys do. They really believe. I think I can charge them the fuck up, man, in all honesty. I think I can, like, once I talk to my guys for a little bit, they're fucking pumped, ready to go out and fucking serve people, dude. Serve the community, you know? So that's how I do this, though. That's how I do, like, a $5 million company in a fucking shithole shop. And, like, there is lots of, guys, you have to understand, like, you can go, it's growth mode or profit mode. You know, like, I can profit immensely, and don't get me wrong, I make plenty of fucking money. Like, I make plenty of fucking money. But I put a lot more than you would think back into the company. And it's like, I regularly make, like, what could be a $60,000 payment to the brass man, I fucking put it back into the company. Like every fucking other month. That's like, I'm taking $60K, I'm like, okay, let's buy a bunch of new tools, some new vans, blah, 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 pay this, pay that, blah, blah, blah. So, but it's just it's really not much different. The economics are kind of the same as the small shop. So you can probably fucking do it.